How's everybody doing? I'm just kind of hanging. I found another crazy video. Well, a couple of crazy videos actually. Um, it was wild. I was supposed to be going on a debate on modern day debate, and uh, and it ended up not happening. I guess the I was going to be going against a couple Muslim people, and it was like me and one other guy, and sucks because I wasn't able to make the. I mean they never I guess could get the Muslim guys to show up, or they backed out or something like that, so I wasn't able to do it. And I told him, I was like, look, I'd be down for any debate. Like I don't, it doesn't have to just be that, if you have somebody, back out of a debate or whatever, I'll come and do it. So, the, g- it, w- and of course it was like, I had just left to go do stuff for the day on a Saturday, and they, modern day debate, like emailed me and was like, hey, can you do a debate tonight? And I was like, shit, man. I just left. Like I got way too much stuff I got to do now. I can't do the debate tonight. And because it was that last minute. Not to mention, he was like, we want you to argue from the positive, like atheism, but like in a pot, like the positive claim of non-existence, which I don't really hold that position. I don't usually argue from it. I'm sure I could, because to me, it's pretty obvious that that is actually the case. But to me, it seems almost nonsensical to argue from that perspective. You know what I mean? Because it's like I don't I don't hold that position. I don't have those beliefs. Why would I argue for the positive claim of non-existence when I shouldn't have to? I should just be able to treat it like leprechauns or anything else that doesn't exist. I shouldn't have to sit here and go, I know I have all the evidence that leprechauns don't exist and I can prove it right now. Like I shouldn't have to do that. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I ended up having to like say no to that debate. And it sucks now because now I'm not hearing back. I haven't heard from them again, but I did have some people in the comment section of a bunch of my videos of like, come on, have me on and I'll debate you. I'll do it. I'll debate you. And so I was like, just, I'd be like, here, email modern day debate and tell them you want to debate. Because, I don't want to bring people on my platform that I don't fucking know. You know what I mean? I don't know if they're going to sit here and say some shit on purpose to try to get my channel, like knocked out, like, if YouTube like flagged me and stuff. I don't trust that shit. So it's like, reach out to them and see what. So hopefully, they get back with me. There was a couple other people too that were saying they wanted to have a conversation. I told them the same thing. I'm not entertaining people unless it's somebody that's recommended by Robert. Robert Stanley of the Right to Reason. I'm not. I'm not going to deal with it because I don't I just don't trust random people, and if modern day debate does it, then okay, then that's their problem. You know what I mean? And I'll go on and have the conversation, but I don't have to worry about them screwing up my channel, whatever. Anyway, that was all just a thing. It was just kind of an interesting turn of events there. So I found this video, and it's this Mike S. I can't think of it, Sigur Morelli or something like that. And I don't know if anybody's aware. This is Mark Driscoll. I don't know if anybody's aware of who he is. He is pretty known as like he's the psycho screaming pastor. like, and at first, like people just thought like, oh, he's just like kind of funny and he's a little bit wacky, and he just puts on a big performance. He puts on a performance, and so he yells, when he's preaching or whatever, right? And so people just kind of thought it was quirky or whatever, and then turns out he ended up getting fired from the church, or demanded to step down, really is how they phrase it, from the church that he started the church, and it was like he didn't. I mean, as far as I could tell, it was several people came forward and said that he was just an asshole. He just mistreated. He would swearsies at people. He would do the swearsies, uh, which to them is a huge deal. I know. There's like, well, hold on, this pastor cussed you out. This is just no way. You know what? How evil, right there. He needs to have his mouth washed out with soap. Is what he does, you know. And hey, what's up, Jasper? Um, and so, but it was just person after person after person after person to the point where it was even on a radio show, like at I think some Christian broadcast radio was like, uh, basically just, ran this huge story about how terrible he is and like all the people. And, I brought some people on that, had known him and people that he berated and mistreated. Anyway, so he's fallen from grace, but for whatever reason, I guess he's getting a second chance, at least from this fella, uh, this demon guy. So this dude is obsessed with demons. I mean, holy shit! It seems like every single video I cover, he's the one that did the uh like a live exorcism, basically, where you can go into the live chat and he will exorcise you from YouTube to you in the chat. That's this guy. So, and when the people were burping and stuff, he was like, "Oh," they're like, "I'm burping," and he's like, "That's a demon. Keep burping. Get it out. Get the burps out. Those are demons." Like, I'm not even kidding. That was actually what happened with this guy. Um, Andrew says, "Is that milk toast Andrew Tate?" I think so. Yep. That's awesome. So let's we'll start out here and see what he's got to say. I got in a little bit. I'll show you some of Mark Driscoll stuff too, where he's kind of acting weird. I don't know, but here we'll go and see.
Many people who are watching right now are interested in the topic of demons. I talk about demons all the time, and no, I'm not demon obsessed, but we need to expose and uncover.
Okay, I'm just gonna make this clear. I had not watched it. I just saw that he was on with Mark Driscoll, and I was like, okay, I'm saving that. I did not watch I didn't know he was gonna say that because clearly other people besides myself, because I know people don't, I don't have that large of a following enough for this person to recognize me or anything I've said, but clearly other people are like, dude, you're obsessed with demons, dude. What's wrong with you? Why are you obsessed with demons? And so now he's just right out the gate. I'm not obsessed with demons. Your face is obsessed with demons. That is
for these things. So I want to jump in and just go real deep today. Is that all right?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
They need to stop saying stuff like that. It just sounds unbelievably sexual. And if you want to go deep, go to adamandeve.com and put in code word BRENTLY at checkout to get 3 free gifts, 50% off almost any one item, 6 free movies, and free shipping on the whole order. Anyway,
for those people who don't know who you are, I'm going to try to do.
And that's most.
Listen, get out of here. I would say for those of you who are a part of my channel and you don't know, Pastor Mark Driscoll, man, I've been following his preaching for years and years, and you've got a book.
And just to let you know, I went and like he came to my church, and I remember him yelling and just like making me like jolt in my chair when I was sitting, because he just scared the light. Like he would just his volume. It's like they don't get that when you shout, like your volume goes up and your mic is attached to you. So it's not like in singing, when you can kind of, no, it's like, wow, and you're just, wow, it just scared the life. And so I never forgot, but yeah, I saw Mark Driscoll at my old church, I don't know, years ago.
Look, and I'm just going to say this from the jump, because in the description, you can actually find the links for the book. It's New Days, Old Demons. Now I'm going to read this: a study of Elijah, sex, gender, basically every word that's about to get me banned from you.
What? Hold on. What were did you guys, hold on. Elijah, sex, gender, Elijah, what the fuck is that doing in there?
the links for the book. It's New Days, Old Demons. Now I'm going to read this: a study of Elijah, sex, gender, basically every word that's about to get me banned from YouTube.
Elijah?
Ancient paganism masquerading as progressive Christianity, victims of nothing, woke politics, the transgender Jezebel spirit that castrates men, and the passive Ahab soft woke Christian beta male spirit leading the conga line to Sheol carrying a rainbow flag. So I just wanted to start this video
Holy
by alerting
fucking Lord.
every moderator on YouTube.
Holy shit. So he's like, I am so proud of just everybody hating me because I'm such a huge bigot with all the stuff I'm saying. It's so cool. Oh man. Isn't it awesome how bigoted we are? Big five, buddy, right? Jesus.
You're all triggered. we believe in equality. Trigger everyone.
Yeah, I just equal.
Yeah, except for you guys, right? Like, because we could make fun of the fact that you pretend to cannibalize a dead carpenter on his stick, and I'm sure you wouldn't find that very funny. But
opportunity offender. So
yeah.
now that I just machine gunned our entire audience, so to tell me a little bit about this book.
It's a good idea. Every time a Christian makes an unintentional sexual innuendo about their religion, pause for an Adam and Eve ad break. That's right. That was honestly why I chose Adam and Eve. I was like, it's gonna be the easiest one to segue. I don't, it's just yeah, exactly. Which one of these things is not like the other? Oh man,
I mean, it's coming out. It's pre-orders coming out next week.
Yeah, I mean, so I've got a ministry, Real Faith, and that's where it's coming from. It's not published with a publisher, so you can't cancel me. There's no endorsements, so you can't attack my friends. I'm not
because he's been canceled by his own people, man. Now, keeping that in mind, it's like, so even you other like Christians can't even do it, okay? Because but he's trying to make it like it's the left is the ones that are trying to cancel him. But no, he was canceled by just being an asshole to just a huge number of people.
Taking $1 from it, so you can't question my motives.
Right.
And it's looking at the old story of Elijah, Jezebel, and Ahab. I'm in the middle of a sermon series I'll finish this weekend. And I was on break after Christmas, getting ready to start the series. And I sat down and I just started working. I didn't have an outline. I didn't think I was writing a book. And I ended up with this book. And so I basically wrote most or almost all of it in one verbal processing 24-hour kind of Rain Man meets Old Testament meets.
Oh God, I bet it's so bad. And he's like, I just sort of shit it out of my brain without even really trying, I'm trying to sell this right now. Good way to say it, man. Yeah, you're doing great. Not to mention, did you catch like the fact that he's trying to like, yeah, and you can't, I didn't make a dime from it. I'm not even selling it, so you can't judge my character. Like he's trying to get ahead of all of the criticism because everybody kind of knows that he's a grifter, nutbag, crazy person,
Rob Zombie in a haunted house on Halloween.
Yeah.
With Alice Cooper.
I feel like
processing 24-hour kind of Rain Man meets Old Testament meets Rob Zombie in a haunted house on Halloween.
Yeah.
With Alice Cooper kind of situation. And so for me, just kind of 30 years of Bible teaching all came together.
Do any of y'all get what he meant by any of that? Like, what is that? What meets Rob Zombie meets like, what are you talking about? Does Rob Zombie like stay up all night and just write a single song? Like, I'm so lost. Anyway,
and like a stream of consciousness. Things I hadn't even thought about or connected came together.
Yeah. Well, you've been dropping some massive revelations about the indication of how we're dealing with.
Isn't that just like religion in a nutshell? Just like everything that I don't even really think about. Just it all comes together to mean, to just give me these wows. You know what I mean? Just like that's
ancient disembodied spirits
totally.
that have twisted personalities that are doing whatever they can to puppeteer our politics, putteer our church leadership. And so if you're okay, I just want to jump right in because I'm feeling
I'm gonna need this guy to pee in a cup. Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to agree with you, but people on drugs are much more rational.
Fire already. As a matter of fact, many of you who follow me, we've got over 250,000 subscribers on this channel. You
Wow.
remember during
That is just disturbing right there. That is
the
wow.
pandemic, me taking you through the sequence of,
Oh,
hey,
God.
you can see, Daniel chapter 5, and
They
you see
closed the church in Daniel. They closed the church in Elijah. COVID was the series of greatest false prophecies
Is there
in
a
the
book of
history the
Elijah?
world.
yeah,
If false prophecy is predicting something that doesn't happen, then COVID was the greatest series of false prophecies in the world. And what you see in the days of Elijah, the government cancels, deplatforms, crucifies the real prophets, hires, pays, funds the false prophets, gives them a platform, and then they prophesy something that brings a spirit of fear.
yeah, yes.
And then the entire nation is gripped with the spirit of fear in the days of Elijah. And in our day, it went global. The governments conspired together to hire the false prophets who showed up with their medical qualifications, telling us that the end of the world was coming, which was not true. And we needed
No, nobody ever said that. Nobody, no expert, and the experts, they are actual experts, and like it's so funny when they're like these experts. Who listens to these idiots? Like, what are you supposed to listen to then? Like, you're basically just throwing out your measuring stick. You're saying, oh, the people that we know actually know about this stuff are stupid idiots that are trying to manipulate everything. So we should all listen to fucking Alex Jones. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're swapping out this for that, and it's like, and then acting like this over here, the idiots that don't know anything is better. It's insane how they do this.
to close the church, but we needed to keep the abortion clinics open because they're essential.
Yeah, it's a medical practice. See, this is where they don't seem to get that it's a medical it's a medical necessity to have abortion clinics open. People die when you don't have when you don't have access to that medical care. It just is. People want to act like, oh no, it's not medical care. It's just people, it's just these whores that are just, out wanting to have sex and then not deal with the consequence. Like, that's not it, man. Like, a lot of people want to have children, and then things happen or whatever, and they can't, and it'll hurt them terribly, and they're like, shit, now I have to do it. And y'all are banning those medical practices, and now it's, people are dying, people are getting really hurt. It's like even people with dead fetuses in them can't get these medical procedures done.
Yeah.
So worship was not essential, but murder was.
Wow. Yeah. Just do
And
this
that's
on my channel.
Another good point too. To answer your say, it's like abortion clinics don't only provide abortions. That is true. They have
That's
other,
great.
other
But
other
it's
things that
true.
they
I mean,
do.
and you're not saying anything that I didn't say. In the heart
Those
of
are
New
all
York
facts.
City, these are all facts.
No, it's
I
not.
mean, they told us 2 weeks to slow the spread,
Yeah.
and here we
No,
are.
Flatten the economy.
Wait. Who? Trump said 2 weeks to slow the spread. Isn't that right? Or am I thinking of something else? I thought he said, like, in a matter of weeks or whatever, it's gonna just disappear like a miracle. But now they're freaking out about COVID, and yeah, it went out of hand a lot faster than we thought it would. The experts were definitely correct. It went faster than we thought, and it spread more than we thought, and it mutated faster than we thought. So it was just there were a lot of problems with it, but the experts were the people to listen to in this whole thing, and they were trying to keep people safe, and they were trying to keep the hospitals from being overwhelmed, which is what happened. I lived across the street from a hospital at the time that it was happening, and it was insane. Like, you couldn't even get close to the hospital. It was backed up for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I'm sure because of that, a lot of people died.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so what we're seeing right now is a redefinition of right and wrong. I mean, we've got confusion in mass,
Yeah.
and you've been a voice, really like a beacon that's just shining the light of Christ into this darkness. And what happens when you turn on the light in a cockroach infested room is you realize you're not alone.
Yeah.
And I think that we thought that it was just humans against humans.
What is you're not alone? What are you talking about? You mean you're the roaches are like the people that are with? Okay, I don't know what
And
he's
yet
saying.
you turned on the light and said, wait a second, we're not alone. And so what is in operation in the world today? I mean, what are you seeing? You kind of started to diagnose it, but what are we really dealing?
Yeah, that's a good point too. You're saying like if everybody would have complied with regulations, which not everyone did, and I'm looking at you, Christians, exactly, because like it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy. They were all like, "Oh, this isn't going to do anything. Shutting things down isn't going to work. It's not going to help." Then they just didn't. Like conservatives and Christians and stuff like just didn't stop doing anything, And then imagine that all it spread everywhere, and they're like, "See, it didn't even do nothing. All this stupid shutdown." It's like, yeah, when you're purposefully spreading the fucking disease, like, and because you're acting like it won't, and then it does, and then you're like, "Oh, well, it did anyway." It's just amazing how stupid they can be about this.
Dealing with, because I know on the surface it's Republican versus Democrat, it's liberal versus conservative, but this isn't anything new.
No, it's not left right, it's north south. And so it's like, are we going to invite heaven down, or are we going to pull hell up? Because when all is said and done, there's only two cultures, and every culture lives
Are we gonna pull heaven down? First of all, that sounds like you're just destroying heaven. Like, yeah, fuck you, heaven. We're pulling you down. You're cut now. We're taking you. We're knocking you down a peg.
Between those cultures.
What the fuck?
So, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We invite the kingdom down, or we pull hell up. This is not about left and right. This is about good and evil.
Wow.
Mutilation of children is not a left-right issue. It's a good and evil issue.
Oh, go fuck yourself. That's not what's happening, man. And
lies is not.
I'm so tired of like explaining that.
It's a good evil issue. Church open or closed. Church free to worship or under government restrictions.
You were spreading a fucking disease, man. Why is it difficult for you guys? Like, oh, they're trying to shut our churches down. It's a conspiracy. It's the Illuminati. What's that it is? And that's ran by the devil, right? And he's trying to shut our churches down. No, man, it's just we don't want y'all to fucking die, you morons. Like, we're trying to keep you from killing yourself with your own stupidity.
Is not left and right. It's north and south. It's good and evil. It's
okay,
heaven and hell.
He is really proud of that not left and right, north and south thing. It's not left or right. It's north and south and good and evil. Like, everybody thinks it's good and evil, dumb fuck. Like, it's, on the left, I agree. It is between good and evil. You're the fucking evil one. You're the one sitting here saying that you shouldn't listen to experts and you should be allowed to spread a disease willy-nilly and get as many people killed as possible, seemingly. And then also turn around and go, but fetuses, though, you shouldn't, we should make sure that women are particularly harmed because those fetuses matter more than they do. It's insane the way they can do that. They can like potentially kill people through spreading a disease, but you can't just stop a potential thing from coming into a person, potential person from like, it's just, I don't know, it's such a mess.
Wow.
And so I think most Christians need to get out of the election paradigm and get into a kingdom mindset.
Wow, that is amazing.
So what the fuck? What is he talking about? Like, why this guy is just so like, oh man, I've never thought about it that way. It's not like how many times I've heard that exact sentence just doing this show, which I haven't been doing this show for very long in this particular way. It's constant. They're constantly saying we need to get out of this, political thing, and we need to just become more kingdom minded, heavenly kingdom minded. Constant. They're always saying this, and it's like, what does that mean? Like, and I wish they would actually. I wish they would actually follow that, because if they would, then they would stay the fuck out of shit, and just do their Christian thing and act like they are actually on the narrow road. And believing that the world's going to go to hell in a handbasket and there's nothing they can do, and there's only going to be a few Christians that they can all get raptured and the rest of us can burn or whatever the fuck. But they don't actually believe their own bullshit. I think that's why they're trying so hard for world domination and particularly country domination at the very least.
So we're talking about abortion, for example. Some people would like to think that that's a problem of the last 60, 70 years. Mm-hmm. But we know that there's a biblical template that this is an ancient demon. And
what? Yeah, just that's not how the cardinal directions work. Out into the atmosphere isn't north, and down and down in the ground is not south. That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, he's thinking of it's true north. No, I don't know. So it's up. You're just up in the air.
Operations.
Totally.
So what do you see biblically, and what are the patterns that are replicated here in 2023?
So it goes all the way back to King David. God tells him, "You're a king. You're under the King of Kings. Here's your job description." And then his son decides, "I'm going to violate what the King of Kings says, and I'm going to take wives that aren't believers." And so he, racks up 1,000, women plus concubines. I don't know why a dude with 1,000 wives needs concubines. I can't imagine I don't get any quality time conversation on day night. And he marries women who
Because like back then, it was really normal to be really awful, in particular because of the way your religion is to begin with. He just took it to another level of like women not mattering that much more.
worship false gods from surrounding nations.
Mm.
Molech, Chemosh, Ahab, and Jezebel bring into the nation of Israel Baal and Astra worship, and all of
Wait,
that.
I thought Molech was a god. Isn't Molech a god? So he's saying Molech was a person that brought in the worship of Baal? Okay.
Started with Solomon. And so here's the big idea: if you worship the wrong God, then you have power to do evil.
Mm.
If you worship the right God, you have power to do good. And so what happens
Wow.
is they
This guy's reaction is just killing. Wow, man. Whoa. How did you even think? Wow. I'm just my head. Wow. What is wrong with you?
start worshiping sex. And in the days of Solomon, he has no boundaries on his.
Did he say he's like they started worshiping sex? Okay. And if you want to worship sex, go to adamandeve.com, put in code word Brentley. And so you can get 3 free gifts, 50% off almost any one item, 6 free movies, and free shipping on the whole order, right?
Sexuality, and then that comes into the nation. And next thing you know, Baal and Astra is a male and female god. They're worshipped through sex. The result is that you have children, and then you sacrifice your children to the demon god Moloch or Chemosh, and it was funded by the
Wait,
government.
hold
So
on. Because just a second ago, he said that Molech was someone who brought in the gods, the evil gods that they would be worshiping. Now he's saying that it is a god. So I don't even know. I don't know. Maybe he misspoke.
funded pro. I'm telling you,
really stupid.
pro-choice is
Yes.
the name of a demon.
Oh, yeah. See, that's a good point. Josh said, and look what I've got in store for you. Have a right God. Yeah, exactly. My right God. Yep. The one I believe in is right, and everybody else is stupid and wrong. You guys are so weird worshiping other guys. Like that's so weird. You doing that?
And state
You know what's normal though is pretending to cannibalize the carpenter on a stick. Now that's normal.
funded
That is normal.
abortion
You guys are weird.
started with sacrificing your children to Moloch.
Yes.
And so today we would say that we're
It's funny too because he's like talking about like, oh, that is just so evil. That is so bad. Like one of your guys' favorite stories is about Abraham, like sacrificing his kid to his God, and then the God told him to do it. Now, he said just kidding at the last second, but it's still like what the fuck, you know?
very, very advanced. No, we're not. We're just pagans in denial.
Yeah, right. Pagans with technology.
Yes.
With new technology. So, and I just want everybody to hear what he's saying. Some of you are going to have to rewind, watch this several times over to get it in you. So it's governmental.
So
It's
And if you want to get it in you, go to adamandeve.com.
state
it's
sanctioned.
always God versus government
Yes.
and prophets versus politicians.
Wow.
That's Daniel. That's Elijah. Every prophet is God versus government, politician versus prophet. And what happens is this is where the church lost its anointing, is if you speak for the government, you're no longer a prophet, because a prophet never speaks for the government. He speaks to the government.
Wow. Thank you for making that.
Hold on. A prophet never speaks for the government. They always speak to the government. I'm starting to wonder, like, are they? Because all these people run together after a while, right? are they in like the same kind of like group? Are they okay like with the Flashpoint people that are all like, the prophets and stuff that like are obsessed with Trump and all that? Like, I wonder if they're in league of that, and or are they like saying that they're wrong because they're speaking for the government? I don't know. I don't know.
Distinction.
Because
But none of
Elijah
that
keeps
makes
putting
sense.
his finger in the chest of Ahab. Daniel keeps putting his finger in the chest of a series of kings.
Mm,
And what happened during the last go round with COVID, people, well, the government says, the CD says, the F word Fauci says,
hmm
and what they're
What?
doing, they are speaking for the government, not to the government. And
Wow.
that's when you go from being a
What?
prophet to a politician.
Yeah.
And as soon as you're a politician instead of a prophet, God takes his hand off you. There is no anointing. You are on your own.
Well,
Mm,
I'm so lost with what he's saying. I think what he's saying is that because those experts were saying, "Hey, this is what we should do," that they weren't prophet. Were they ever saying that they were prophets? They like did they think Fauci was like claiming to be a prophet, or is he saying like other churches that were like, "Hey, y'all, we should like maybe not spread a deadly disease," and but he's saying that those people, the pastors that were saying that, they were evil because they were speaking for the government. They were just repeating what they were saying. He said, "You're not a true prophet unless you're like, fuck you, government. Okay, don't tread on me."
And
mm.
then the only power you potentially have is demonic because Satan wants to help you speak for the government, not to it.
Wow. This is okay. This is so rich. So let's kind of transition now because I want to
That's rich. Yeah, this is. Come on.
keep diagnosing if you're okay with that. And for those of you who are like, I love these kinds of conversations. I want more information on this. Not only did I link to
Oh, I
his
do.
channel in the description, but again, his book, New Days, Old Demons, is linked in
It's
the
a
chat
full
as well.
sermon series. I'm
Yeah.
going through First and Second
Yeah,
Kings.
because this is something where in V1 Church we took that journey. I mean, people were getting their mind blown to say, wait a second, this is a spirit of Herod all over again. They there was a let's kill the firstborns, and you see that over and over again echo.
Mhm.
And so there's something about tracing that echo
What?
and saying,
That was your God that did that. Your God was the one that was saying that we should kill the firstborn. Like he did, according to your silly story, but like that's definitely didn't happen, and it's been basically demonstrated through just the fact that there is zero evidence in that whole situation even happened. But your God was the bad guy in that, man. He was the one sacrificing children.
and this is my one of my favorite Mark Driscoll lines, the Bible isn't the story of what happened, it's the story of what always happens. And it's not just because God doesn't change,
Oh,
but
wait.
it's
Oh, that was King Herod. Okay, never mind. Oh, wow. I just zipped to a completely different. I thought at first I was thinking he was talking about the Exodus, but the irony is that their God did the exact same thing as Herod supposedly did. Again, that definitely never happened because there's no evidence of King Herod, killing thousands of babies, and by law, whatever. Like there was plenty of historians around at the time that would have specifically Jewish, um, scholars at the time would have written down and said, "Hey, this king is trying to murder all of our children to find Jesus." Nobody wrote that at all. That was completely made up.
also because Satan's rolling out and his demonic minions the same strategy over and over.
And that's why cessationism to me is so insane. What they're
What?
saying is Satan and demons had certain powers, and God and angels and the Holy
Hold on,
Spirit.
let's look at some of these. Okay. So this one says American Top Gunner. Prophets can't be in government because the government is evil. He's asking me, like, because they're all. I think that's why he's saying you're gonna need to rewatch this because they're even confused. Like, nothing new under the sun. Solomon, LOL. What's up, Tony? Chile, let me hit the slow mo button because so many gems are being dropped. Yes,
Had
Echo.
certain
Okay.
powers,
Never
and
mind.
God has decided not to use all of his powers, but Satan and demons are. Satan and demons are not cessationists. Furthermore,
What?
Come on.
um,
What is cessation? It's like, what do you mean, like cessate, like trying to cut back? Is that like what I thought? That isn't that what cessation means? Or trying to stop? Uh, isn't it? I only heard it in the context of smoking and drinking. It's like,
Satan and demons, if they are continuing to use everything in their arsenal and God is not, then we should all put a cup and a helmet on before we go to bed because it's hopeless.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
Satan is going to do
what?
everything he's ever done. And I hope God does everything that he's always done.
Yeah, come on. Well, and I say this whenever you see the prophets of
Okay.
Baal, there's going to be an Elijah. So the hope that I have in this era, I mean, we're here in New York City. And the hope that I have when I see the prophets of Baal, and maybe you could talk a little bit about this, because wherever you have a god or a demonic entity represented as a god, you're going to have prophets of that god.
Totally.
And so there's God's prophets, and then there's the prophets of Baal. And when I look at this woke ideology, to me, those
a
are
spirit.
prophets of that
Okay.
God.
It's a
What?
So woke is
Who is the what? Like you're just saying, the ideology is the prophets of that God. Like this is where you can see like the right wing brainwashing meeting the brainwashing of their cult that they are part of, just slamming into each other and just becoming this melded, gobbledygook. Like, it gets so crazy now. Woke ideology are prophets somehow. They're the false prophets. Like it's not a person; it's just an ideology.
is just
So
a spirit.
stupid.
Yeah.
And so, certain on the left will be like, you can't even define it, right? Because it's powers, principalities, and spirits.
Yeah.
And what we're not talking
Well, you nailed it. All right. So, well, you're right. Okay. Well, since the reason that you can't define it is because it's principalities. What the?
So wokeism is just a spirit.
Yeah.
And so, certain on the left will be like, you can't even define it, right? Because it's powers, principalities, and spirits.
Because
Yes.
it's powers, principalities, and spirits. That's why we can't define what woke is. That's why we don't know what we're mad at. It's just everything that we don't like, particularly as it applies to people of color and the LGBTQIA plus community. And all they have to do is be there. So it just has to be a black person just being there, and they're like, "This is fucking woke. What is this guy even doing here? Why is he here?" you know. And same thing with the queer community. It's just if they're there, it's woke. That's it. Oh shit, now it's woke. Like it doesn't, because like even I understand, like if something is preachy, okay, well then something is preachy, and I understand that, and I could see them defining that as woke or whatever, but that's never what it is. It's always just they're there. A black person is there, and it's woke.
And what we're not talking about is an ideology, but an entity.
Yes.
You
Yes.
just
And
said it was an
anytime you
ideal.
see
How do you go? Okay, so he's saying that. Okay. I guess what he's saying is that the ideology is an entity, and the entity is the false prophet that's supposed to be prophesying for the false god. But I guess the false prophet is like a magical spiritual being.
church closed,
So stupid.
lies promulgated,
Oh God.
Bible teaching canceled, throttled. Anytime you see children mutilated and government seizing
Kylie Reckless said, the 3 P's. That's awesome.
authority over
Yep,
parents,
that's it.
you know that
Powers,
something from the
principalities.
dark side of the force is at work in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And wherever you have an entity, you'll have prophets of that entity. And what I find is so alarming is how
Did you-
people are literally standing on the side of these issues and using their social media, their influence. And some of them are even Christians. And I know you used the word soft woke, which since we're talking about woke, I'd love to get a definition of soft woke,
So
because it's interesting to me. People won't use
hard
their
woke is out of the closet, soft woke is in the closet.
Okay.
It's the opposite of the gay community. The soft woke is the don't ask, don't tell.
Wow.
So they are going to go nuts for justice, but not justice for the unborn. They will go crazy for Black Lives Matter, which is
because they're not born, man. They don't exist, dude. Like they don't in any meaningful way. Like it's
an anti-God, anti-patriarchy shell game for, socialistic redistribution of wealth through power, but they won't say anything about the unborn.
And
And at the end of the day,
he just keeps returning to that. I mean, they'll say stuff about because he breezed right over the Black Lives Matter because I know they end up sounding like complete nutbag racists if they needle at that for longer than a half a second. But
it's not just what they say, it's what they don't say.
Yeah.
what
And so the
about
soft
what?
woke has taken over the majority of evangelicalism. And it is, my goal is not to get fired or in trouble. It's like most of the guys that I respect got murdered. And it says this in Revelation. There's a line in
Jesus.
Revelation that's haunting.
So you want people to do stuff that's so heinous and awful that it would get them murdered, or is he just like assuming falsely, obviously falsely, that like the left is just so giant and powerful, and the queer community is just so just violent that they're gonna just murder. Come on, man! Like, how fucking stupid? Which side do you really think is violent? The one obsessed with guns, or the one that's not? The one that's obsessed with like being nice to people, like to almost a degree where it's like you could almost be like, okay, sometimes that's like that's why I love when people like say that like the left and the right are the same. It drives me insane because I'm just like, holy shit! Like the farthest of far left is kind of annoying because they want you to be like so ultra sensitive to things that you're just like, what, but the far right is like wants to murder everybody. Like they're obsessed with guns and obsessed with hating people. These things are not equal. Okay, sorry.
Side of the city of the New Jerusalem, the people who aren't allowed into the kingdom, the idolaters, the sexually immoral, the witches, and the cowards.
Yeah.
I love how they just say witches and witches. The ones, those ladies with warts on their nose that are like big noses and pointy hats that fly around on brooms. Fuck those people. They're not allowed in. They're not allowed in, and neither are the sexually immoral people and all the other things we just listed.
And so a coward is not fit to be in leadership. And we tend to evaluate whether or not somebody is qualified by how nice they are and how many people like them.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't be a prophet.
Okay, hold on. Hold on. Not only is that just all churches, that's also, and that's you specifically. Like he'll like teach in a particular way where he sounds like a comedian, doing bits and stuff. But that's also politics. Like that is how it has to work, and it's how both have to work. That's how like churches have to work and how politics have to work. Like you're not gonna have a church if nobody wants to fucking come to your church, man. That's not how.
And have high approval ratings. If you're a prophet, it's always going to be 1 and 5-star reviews. That's how it's going to go.
Yeah.
And
How
Bill always
else?
has false prophets.
As opposed to what? The 0 out of 5? Like, how does this work? Like, what is the true, like, what's the right way to do this? You got to be the way that everybody hates you. That's what you need. You just need to be by yourself in your church, pissing everybody off. If they walk in your church, you say, fuck you, buddy. Get the hell out of here. And then they leave. You're doing it right. You're doing it right.
It says that there were 850 false prophets of Baal and Ashtoreth in the days of Ahab and Jezebel in 1st and 2nd Kings. And it says that they dined at her table, meaning this, they were paid.
Yeah.
And so a lot of guys are like, what will pay the bills? What will give me clicks? What will give me likes? What will give me influence? What will give me promotion?
Yeah.
Hey, now you're kind of like, you can hear he's getting kind of uncomfortable with everything he's saying. It's like, hold on now, I get clicks now. I didn't, and I try to get demons out of people. Okay. I just, it helps me get clicks, but I also believe the demons are in people.
Job security.
Mm.
And so at the end of the day, if you're ultimately living for that, Jesus says you're living for a demon god called Mammon. It's back to a demonic issue.
Yes. Yes. And I want everybody listening right now to understand. And here's what I hear you saying. And I just want to put the implicit into the explicit. There's no such thing as 3 teams. It's not team God, team Satan, and then myself. It's you. If you are not actively working on behalf of the kingdom of heaven, you are working on behalf of the enemy.
You're for me or against me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what Jesus said.
Because I think that soft woke is like, well, how do we bow to Nebuchadnezzar's idol, but then still pray 3 times?
Yeah.
And then that way we don't get killed for it. Maybe we'll.
What are these analogies they're using? Like, so it's sort of like when you're worshiping an idol, right? Feel me out. right? You know how this goes. You've been there. You know what I mean? Like, what? No, man. What the fuck are you talking about?
It's trying to straddle the
Yeah.
fence.
Yeah.
And the only thing that happens is a chafed crotch.
Come on, guys,
Good
quote
one.
him.
Oh, that was good.
Put
That
that
was-
on Instagram
wow.
and tag Pastor
And if you want a chafed crotch, go to adamandeve.com, enter code word BRENTLY, and get some stuff.
Mark Driscoll. Yeah, but it's true because I think what happened was that one of the blessings of the last couple of years is things get so blatantly shoved in your
Dude,
face.
it
It
is-
forces you to take a stand.
It used to be demons would sneak around, and now
Yeah.
they're just walking around.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
when you've
What?
got, Methodist pastors
Where?
hosting drag queen story hours
Oh,
on the
so it's-
altar, you're like, is this the abomination that causes desolation? I mean,
Wow.
it used to be less often.
They hate them that much for just, getting in drag. A very appropriate drag, by the way. Of every time of, every kind of I've never been to one myself, but everybody that I know that has been to one, and all the pictures that I've ever seen of the drag queen story hour, they are so dressed. It's unreal. Like, they make me look like I'm half naked, like they are fully fucking clothed. Just reading stories to kids. It's crazy. And that makes them, and he's like, in a church? You can't do that in a church. Like, wow.
Obvious. And then
Yeah.
people could deny it, but now they're not even ashamed.
Right. And I always find
That's what really makes them mad. See? And they wonder, like, why do you got to be prideful? Because of you fuckers saying that shit, man. You're just saying they're not even ashamed anymore. Yeah, that's why, because that's what you want. You want them to be ashamed. You want to shame them, which is why, the entire movement is called Pride. That's why that's the Pride Month. It's because we're done being shamed. We're sick of it. And you need to be ashamed. You fucking weirdos. And especially you, that's gotten in so much trouble, man. Like, your own church, knocked you out.
it embarrassing that they're not ashamed. They're going out
We're
there
ashamed
doing
of the
both, but we're
gospel.
ashamed of the gospel. And it's like, I think some of you watching right now, you need to come out of your
Should be ashamed of the gospel. You know how stupid it is? You have to sit there and go, yeah, only one God exists, but there's evil all throughout the world, but it's not his fault. It's everybody else's fault somehow. And then you have to believe that he sent himself to sacrifice himself to himself, to act as a loophole for rules that he made up. And yeah, I'd be ashamed of that stupid shit too. Okay.
your Christian closet and say, I'm a believer. I believe that the word of God is true. And there's just something about that in this time, it's provoking the Daniels and the Shadrachs and Meshachs and Abednegos to actually say, no, I'm going to take a stand.
But the Bible says that the gospel is offensive, but it's offensive in an attractive way. Because your whole life you're told
What the fuck? So you're in an offensive in an attractive way? I don't even good comedy, like a good comic.
you're good. And then you're like, no, you're not. Or like,
Right.
well, that's offensive, but it's curious.
Mm,
You're the problem, not the solution. You're the villain, not the victim.
yeah.
When people hear those things, they're offended, but it's like, you know what? The only thing that has been constant in your life is you. So maybe your worst enemy is you.
Yeah.
And maybe you need to be saved from you, which means you can't save yourself.
Yeah.
And so the gospel of Jesus Christ is
Wait,
bad news before good news. Sin
You need you need to be saved from, you can't save yourself because you are against you. You don't hear how stupid this sounds, man? I feel like right here his face almost looks like he's like, maybe this is kind of dumb. I don't know. Do I sound stupid? Do I sound crazy?
sinner before
Yes,
Savior.
you do. Yes.
Offensive in a way that really is inviting to make sense of reality.
Yeah.
And what we're dealing with now is an entire culture that is just saying that biology is bigotry and that reality is, discriminatory, which
Yeah.
is
No, we're not, man. If you would just leave those people alone, that would be just not bigotry. If you could just leave people alone. The fact that you are so obsessed, look, he's brought them up, brought trans people up 5 times now with seemingly like shoehorned in. Like this had nothing to do. Like he just keeps on just and trans people though. Like you're obsessed, dude, and you're sitting there saying like biology and all this stuff that it's like a it's just a reality. No, man, you've just got it wrong. Like biology is not as simple as a Beavis and Butthead level of understanding of penises and vaginas. Like it's not that fucking simple, man. And so there are intersex people and there are transgender people. That is all there is to it. These are people, for fuck's
It's
sake.
insane. Because reality is like gravity. Whether or not you believe in it, you have to deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's irrevocable.
Yeah, it's almost like you need to just deal with the fact that these people exist. Okay. And like a lot of us, they're our friends, our family, our loved ones. And when you're sitting there acting like psychos about them all the time, we're going to get fucking pissed.
Well, here's the thing though. It's like we've given people permission to divine themselves. And I think
Which is a counterfeit of God. Everything
is.
God
What?
creates, Satan counterfeits.
Yes. Yes. And so a father assigns identity. A father releases identity. It's like, and
What?
I think when I think about the American ideology, it's create your own identity. But in Christianity, your identity isn't created, it's inherited.
It's not achieved, it's received.
Yeah, it's given to you because you can't be yourself. I mean, they're just saying it all just outright, man. Like you don't get to be anybody. You just got to be what you're prescribed to be by just so happens to be me. I get to tell you based on my belief system. Like that. Wow.
Yes. And so it's like,
So
it's
sad.
crazy because, and Pastor Mark, maybe you can say something about this, but anxiety levels are increasing.
Mhm.
They have a form of freedom, and yet they're heavily medicated and they're anxiety ridden. And from my pulpit, I've been preaching for years. Could the source of the anxiety be the burden of creating your own identity? What if your identity was received, not achieved? What if you didn't have to make your future? What if it was already planned and you have to be led into it by your maker?
Wow. It's a good thing. You know what? You should just pop that up on peer review, like then see what the scholarship of psychology thinks of it. See what they think about that. Like, hey, man, the reason that everybody's so anxious is just because they're trying to be who they are. They're trying to be themselves instead of just doing what we think they should do all the time and get in line and act like a real true Christian, which is my specific branch of Christianity and my specific interpretation and my specific denomination and my specific religion. And if everybody would just do that, then nobody would be anxious ever.
And so what does that look like? And because we're defining our own.
I don't give a crap about being good. It's more important to be loved.
Yeah.
And we live in a world where everybody is trying to pretend that they're good. And if you say that they're bad, then they're triggered and offended and a victim. The good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ is you're not good, but
you're literally sitting here talking about being canceled and all this stuff and like, having to go, and you can't judge my character because I'm not making that much money off of this book. And yet but they are the ones that are triggered.
And the nice thing about an identity that is rooted and sourced in God's unchanging love is it's an unshakable identity. So like Jesus,
unchanging except from like the Old Testament to the New Testament, where he was ordering genocide and everything, and then all of a sudden now he wants to treat everybody to be treated as themselves.
Jesus at the beginning of his ministry, the Father speaks from heaven and says, "This is my Son in whom I am well pleased." And the answer is, well, what had he done? He hadn't preached a sermon. He hadn't cast out a demon. He hadn't performed a miracle. Jesus lived from the Father's love and approval and identity, not for it.
Yeah.
And there's something profoundly liberating when who you are is at the starting line, not the finish line.
Yeah.
And you work from it and not for it. Like I've got 5 kids. And when I first held my oldest son, he's now 23, I held him and I never forget, it wasn't, if you perform, I will love you. You will be my son if you meet this job description. I held him and I was like, this is my son. And I literally said, this is my son in whom I'm well pleased.
Yeah.
And I prayed for him and I prayed for his son. And my son crapped on my foot. I was wearing open-toed sandals. He was naked.
Yeah.
And he crapped on my foot.
Yeah.
And I thought,
welcome to the world.
this is the gospel.
Yeah.
My father.
I have to say I agree with them. It is, the gospel is just crap on your foot. That's what it is, So I just, I get it, buddy. I get it.
Loves me, and
Mhm.
I take a dump on him, and he laughs because he loves me and I'm his son.
Yeah.
If the average person walked up and took
And Andrew said, I would like for them to explain the difference between a drag queen and a clown. I'll wait. Yeah, I don't think they know. They have no idea what it uh, is. It said people like this should be forced to sit silently through a drag queen story hour to see that nothing bad happens. Thank you. Because holy shit, it's they're but you're I'm glad that you put silently in it because like they would not know. They would they would be throwing tomatoes if they could find them right there.
a dump on my foot, I would not have laughed and considered that appropriate behavior. But a son
Yeah.
gets to do things that the father knows are part of his development.
Yeah.
That being said, now my son is having
What is the
a
point of
son
this?
next month,
Wow.
and I'm going to meet my grandson.
Congratulations.
And I will hold my grandson, and I will pray the same thing over my grandson that I prayed over his dad. This is my son in whom I am well pleased. I can't love him anymore. I won't love him any less. On his good day, I'm going to encourage him. On his bad day, I'm going to carry him.
Yeah.
And that's the father heart of God. And
Bullshit. I mean, if he's specifically part of a community that you despise, you would throw him out. And we all know that. You value family so much that you'll destroy your own for those particular values in particular.
and if you know that,
Those
you live
particular
differently. Now,
values.
if you do
That was
think
redundant.
I'm the center of the universe, not God, that my destiny is determined by my choices, and also I need to create an identity and then I need to continually live up to it, you are going to be crushed under the weight
Yeah.
of being the center of your own universe and the source of your own identity.
Yes.
What?
Yes. Now, having established all that, because that's the foundation for this next
Like,
part.
what are you like? So, what are you then? Like, I don't understand how they don't see that they are literally doing the thing. Like, this is your identity. You have created your identity, and I know you don't want to believe it, but you, Mr. Mark Driscoll, have created your own identity surrounding what you want your belief system to be, regardless of if you think that you decided to believe it or not. That is your personality, that is your identity. And same with you, Mr. Mike S. You are the demon guy. You're the dude that's obsessed with demons. Like, you have created your identity. You just happen to have made it surrounding a particular religion because you probably feel like you need to be seen as a good person. And so that's a good way to do that.
I want to jump into, and you just masterfully laid out the gospel in the Father's heart, because we have
Dude, I know. It's funny you said that. Andrew said, like, what is that weird smoke machine effect? Are they on fire? I was gonna say, because I keep seeing smoke go by in the background. Like, what the fuck? Are they like trying to say they're so high they're up in the clouds? Or is that like a smoke machine thing? I'm so lost. I don't know.
increasingly growing list of pronouns. We've
Yeah.
got an entire
Mine's
spectrum.
No, it's not, man. There's not an increasingly growing. The pronouns have always existed. They're the same pronouns. Okay. It's just he, she, he, him, she, her, and they, them. Okay. And sometimes, if and it's preferred based upon how they identify. Okay. That's it. But the pronoun, there's no ever growing list of pronouns. It's just those ones, right? They just applied to people that you wish they didn't because you're all hateful assholes.
WTF.
Okay, yeah.
I
Let
think
me hold
he
that.
was trying to say the stupid genders thing where he's like, oh, there's just like so many genders. And as far like I don't even know most of the like I'm gonna treat everybody the way that they want to be treated, do my best anyway. Unless you're a person who violates that themselves, then I don't really care. But if but as far as like the genders go, and then like as far as I know, there's just uh trans men, trans women, and non-binary. That's as far as I understand. If somebody tells me that they are somewhere in between there, that's fine. Like this should not be a problem. Um, But as far as I can tell, that those are it. There's the three,
That for a second. We'll get that meeting in a second.
Yeah.
How many strikes can we get before the
I say, Jasper said, how did he put it? Tantalizing, disgusting personality. Yeah, I mean that's it
they
right
shut
there.
us down? But it's like, increasingly growing list of pronouns. We have sexuality on a spectrum. And I mean, to be
That's
honest
just a
with you, here in
fact.
New York City,
That is just a fact. There is sexual, like, just gender and sex on is on a spectrum. You have like people with like women with XY chromosomes, and that's a fact. They're born with a uterus and XY chromosomes. That's just a fact, man. And it's like 1 to 2% of our population is intersex, right? And that's way larger than the population of transgender people, which is what 0.03%. So like it's just so small.
I mean, the pride flag in and of itself has become a farce. I mean, it continues to expand by color, symbols, even people within the community. If you told me, tell me what everything represents on this entire flag. I mean, it's just
On this
it's
entire
becoming
flag.
it's beyond
This flag is just way too big. It's the entire thing. And now it's like there's colors on it too. What this is just ridiculous. What?
absurdity, right?
Yeah.
So what do you say?
Oh my God, they're the people that are talking about like burps being demons coming out, and they're talking about the flag, the LGBTQI plus flag being absurd. You don't get to fucking say that, you dumb shit.
Where do you see in the Bible, though, a template for, oh, Pastor Mike, this is something new? No, this is something old. Because obviously, people who have not heard the gospel, don't understand the gospel, they're going to try to create their own identity. And in a society that values uniqueness, okay, I'm a cat now.
Yeah.
Because I'm more unique than you. And my teacher has to oblige by putting a litter
That's not a thing, man. Nope. And oh, is he about to say the litter box?
box in the classroom.
I knew
In
it.
a
Hold on,
society
let
that
me go back.
values uniqueness, okay, I'm a cat now.
Yeah.
Because I'm more unique than you. And my teacher has to oblige by putting a litter box in the classroom because I'm more unique than the other 29 people.
Wow, that is that. First of all, that was something that was so unbelievably stupid that people believed, including Joe Rogan, who it seems to be just getting more and more idiotic by the episode. But yeah, that wasn't true, and that isn't the same thing as gender. That's not anywhere close to gender. Okay, like it's so frustrating when they want to act like this is like that. Like gender is a thing that definitely exists, and it's existed for so long. It's unbelievable. Why do you think the Bible says that men should wear men's clothes and women should wear women's clothes? It's almost as if that was happening back then, and it pissed them off back then. But they want to act like this is all new. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so in a individualistic society, in a society that creates your own identity, in a society that values uniqueness over community.
Why though?
What?
Yeah.
Like,
No,
why-
holy shit. That I can't believe they could say like over community. Y'all are the ones that are against community, right? Because we're trying to be inclusive. We're just saying, hey, we all got to get along regardless of what we believe, regardless of who we are. Like we all got to be able to get along. And as long as everybody in this group is understanding that we all would like to get along, then we all can get along. Y'all are the ones sitting there going, no, but I don't want to get along with them. I shouldn't have to because I have sincerely held beliefs.
Why is being a snowflake valuable?
Here it is. Look,
Purpose
what is this? What is going on here?
and meaningful. Like you're a dude, you pee standing up
Yeah.
and you
What
eat
if they
meat
don't?
and grow up and get a job and buy a house that a woman wants to live in, and then you can have sex. I mean, it's
Yeah.
very nice
What?
when I would hate it if I went to IKEA and they gave me a blank sheet of paper for assembling all the furniture. I would be very stressed by that.
That's so good. That is so good.
I'm
Yeah.
confused. What is it? Well, I don't
Yeah.
get that joke.
Like God made me, He wrote a book,
Wow.
and He tells me how to put my life together.
Oh,
I don't
it's
have-
like IKEA's like tells you how to do it. Um, Yeah, well, it's pretty self-explanatory most of the time, man. You just use that little Allen wrench, right? And you just sort of like put the screws through the holes, and anyway, it's the whole thing. But it's actually pretty simple. You usually
Oh,
To
don't
be
that's so
need it, and most of the instructions are in Swedish anyway, aren't they?
smart, I
good.
just got to sequence the steps and crank the little wrench. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, this is so good. I know this is funny, but it really is that simple. It
Okay, well, I'm gonna wrap it here, and I am gonna start back on this one when we come back. I might end up doing like the first halves of these and then putting the second half on Patreon. You go to patreon.com/unapologetics. It's like the word unapologetic, except with an X at the end instead of a C. And you want to come on and check out that. It'll be really cool. I think I'm going to start doing that because I really do want to follow a lot of these up, but I get so many of these videos that I'm just like I'm always on to the next one, on to the next one. But I really do want to finish this one. So thank you so much for watching it. And if you do want to go to adamandeve.com and enter code word Brentley at checkout, it would be really, really cool. You get 3 free gifts, one for him, one for her, and one you'll both enjoy. You get 50% off almost any one item, and you get free shipping on the entire order and 6 free movies. So definitely head out there to do that. It's definitely worth it, trust me. And make sure that you are logical, loving, skeptical, and compassionate. And we'll see you next time.